Hey, Bon Pomeriggio. How's everybody doing? This is your favorite boy of Genoese Cuban descent, Ricky Petaluga, Eric the Rick. Just going over how DNA estimates can vary and not exactly be what you think. So, again, I've done videos on my ancestry before. This isn't a breakdown of what the ancestry entails, like what it means to, far back be Genoese, Italian, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm a quarter Italian, quarter Cuban, quarter Polish, quarter Anglo-Saxon, and I'm gonna have ChatGPT back me up despite what my results look like. So let's look here. Portuguese 27.8, Spanish and Cuban and Spain, Canary Islands. That is the migration group that represents my Italian grandfather, and Petaluga is an Italian name, and I've done that in my other video because I showed you the heraldry crest from Heraldry Crests of Rome, as well as Mr. Sweets on Amazon, and the meaning of the name in the Genoese, the Genoese language. So I am of Genoese descent, Genoa in Italy. East European 21.3, Spanish, Catalan, and Basque 16.7, English 13.3, Scottish and Welsh 3.5, Baltic 3.1, Germanic 2.2, Breton 2.1, French 2.1, Balkan 1.9, Danish 1.6, North Italian 1.6, South Central America 1.4, Moroccan 1.2. Okay, so ChatGPT, let's go over why. Absolutely. Here's a clear and complete breakdown for your YouTube video, bringing together your current version 2025 version 2.5 and the previous version 0.95 results along with your father's results, and trying to take it all, your Genoese, Cuban, Polish, and Anglo-American ancestry. This will walk your viewers through your family story accurately and engagingly. Okay, it has the Italian flag, Cuban flag, U.S. flag, and the Polish flag. It's funny. All right, who I am, my DNA explains. So, hi, hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm breaking down my did that. Okay. All right, so I come from four main ancestral lines. Paternal grandfather, a white Cuban of Genoese Italian descent, born in Pinar del Rio, blonde hair, blue eyes, fully European. Paternal grandmother, a mixed Cuban woman from Oriente of Canarian and Spanish ancestry, possibly some distant African and indigenous. Maternal grandfather, Polish. Maternal grandmother, Anglo-American, descended from English, Scottish, and early American colonial settlers. So my latest version is 2025 version 2.5. It goes over the percentages. Okay, so included genetic groups: Southern USA, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, confirming my colonial American roots. Okay, my previous versions. Okay, so on my previous version, I was only Iberian 40.8, Scandinavian 22.3, Balkan 18.1, North and West European 9.6, East European 3.5, Finnish 2.3, and Mesoamerican and Andean 3.4. My father's results 2025. So again, now my father's results, he's 50.2% Portuguese, Spanish and Canary Islands migration group, South Italian 1.8, South Italian, I was North Italian if you're paying attention. Small Native American and African percentages. This likely shows that he inherited a majority Iberian Cuban profile from both of his parents, while the South Italian likely coming from his Petaluga Genoese father, who had traces of Southern Italian, French, German, and English ancestry that didn't register strongly with his breakdown but showed up in mine. My Genoese Cuban grandfather's DNA, what it all means, is mostly West European, and it appears in my profile through North Italian, French, Germanic, English, and Breton percentages, and possibly parts of the Portuguese category, which often absorbs Western Mediterranean DNA. So again, these are all things that weren't on my father's, but it's going to explain to you here why I inherited it indirectly, because it wasn't inherited through my father. So my Cuban grandmother's DNA from Orient is mostly shown through high Iberian percentages, some Moroccan, Moorish, Spanish legacy, and possibly the South Central American DNA reflecting native Taino ancestry. These match what we know about Canarian migrations to Cuba. My Polish grandfather explains the East European and Baltic in the north portions, and my Anglo-American grandmother accounts for the English, Scottish, Danish, and colonial U.S. genetic groups. My heritage is a story of Mediterranean nobility and trade. It is true, Petaluga is a noble name. Don't let that flatter me, though. You'd be surprised how common nobility is, among less names. These things don't mean anything anymore. I mean, I've gone in other videos how Genoese people had privileges, right, in southern Italy through the Spanish crown and in Spanish colonial areas. So because southern Italy was ruled by the Spanish crown in southern Italy, the Genoese had privileges, and also in the Latin America during the early colonial period. But colonial Cuba, right, Spanish and Canarian settlers on my grandmother's side, Eastern European resilience, and Anglo-American frontier blood ties to the early U.S. history. All that fits together across DNA versions because the newer tech is refining those older categories into more accurate geographic and ethnic fingerprints. So, well, it explained before because I had to clarify my father's results. So, I mean, it said before, like breaking it down, that comparing, right. So your Portuguese 27.8%, Spanish, Basque, Catalan 16.7, that up to 44.5, which mirrors your father's Iberian majority, but not fully. So where do you get the remaining 50% paternal DNA from? That's where your Genoese paternal grandfather shows up through North Italian 1.6, French 2.1, Germanic 2.2, English 13.5, Scottish Welsh 3.5, Breton 2.1, Balkan, Danish, other minor European. These clearly don't appear in your father but appear in you, which tells us they were inherited from your grandfather or skipped or were below the threshold in your father's test. Your grandfather, a white Genoese Cuban from Pinar del Rio, likely carried a mixed Western European profile, typical of Genoese merchant families with ties across Spain, France, England, and Germany, but was clustered by my heritage in the Portuguese and Spanish in your father's simplified breakdown. So I went over this before, but then I clarified that my father's previous results had it. Currently, he's just indigenous black, um, Spanish, and Southern Italian. That's the only thing that's on it. So his previous results were actually more diverse as far as European goes, with North and West France and Germany, and Scandinavian 3.5, which reflect the migrations which didn't have Scandinavia. Well, maybe it might have been one, not in all of them though, but mostly the yeah. So but again, he had those in his actual ethnicity percentages. They took it away, but that's probably because they simplified it into a region of Italy. Because Southern Italians do actually have from the Angevin period, the French rule, right? Did have those ethnicities in them, and the Normans of Southern Italy. Because again, even though my family's from Genoa, Northern Italy, and Northern Italians are Celtic and stuff like that, I could do a whole another video about that. But that's just a general breakdown of inherited traits, right? It's not to say my father didn't inherit him. It's just they're stronger in me. Because again, they did show him previously. But they're not showing them for him now. So they are showing it for me. Because my mother is 100% European and some of her ethnicities overlap with mine. It's kind of explaining to you that, because I have more of one thing, I could even have, like, say, more French and Breton than my mother. Now, my mother's never taken a DNA test. She's against those things. She's very, like, traditionally conservative and Catholic. But for all anybody knows, unless I saw other people in my mother's family taking it. But yeah, I mean, as I'm sure you guys have seen videos where it's like, siblings take a DNA test and the inherited traits are different. Just the way your DNA looks from our current scientific perspective, if you will. And that's liable to change. And my sister, I was born with light brown hair and of course the same eye color. I don't know if eyes can get darker, maybe they do. But my hair definitely got darker. My hair turned totally black when I was I think 19. But before that it was like a light shade of brown, then it turned gold, then it turned like dark brown from like age 15 and up, like dark brown age late 14, early 15. It was like dark brown. And my sister had blonde hair and blue eyes her whole life, like very light skinned, and she all of a sudden her hair became like black at age 21. So it's so it's like a delayed effect that my hair got dark. I mean, my hair was never like blonde, but it was like a very, very light shade color. But that's inherited traits, she's my sister. So it's like, the darker traits, she inherited later, and then she's, nobody thinks she isn't white, everybody, people don't believe her when she says she's Cuban, but yeah. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Peace.